Hey, so today I want to talk about selling your fur, marketing your fur. What are you going to do to get rid of your fur? And The reason I'm doing this is because I think there might be some folks out there who are in a similar situation that I was. I was introduced to trapping. I really enjoyed it. Um, I didn't have a problem skinning critters or doing any of that stuff. But at the time, especially, I lived in a pretty small neighborhood, kind of close to the neighbors in a subdivision, and I wasn't real sure about skinning and putting up fur, either like out back behind the house. I didn't have a shed, um, so it was one of those things where I had to kind of make a decision on what I was going to do. And in the beginning, I really looked for a country buyer. That was what I thought I wanted to do. Um, that was the way I thought I was gonna market my fur. And I mean, in central Missouri at the time, there wasn't one. There just wasn't one. There were a few buyers left in the state. They were 3+ hours away from where I lived at the time, and it just didn't make any sense. I didn't have a lot of freezer space where I could store a lot of carcass animals or even green pelts. It just didn't make a lot of sense, for me to get the first to that country buyer. In addition to that, um, you know, I've never been a part of the fur boom. I've never been a part of high fur prices. I've never experienced any of that stuff. So when I started trapping, I knew, looking at the reality of the prices and everything, that this was not a money making, excursion. This was going to be a money loser. It was going to be another hobby. I'm a bow hunter, duck hunter. I've got lots of hobbies that cost more money than they make. So I'm used to that. I don't have a problem with that. Um, but I never looked at this as a money making opportunity, really, as far as catching the fur and marketing the fur. I was looking to make back some gas money or something. You know what I mean? Getting something back from the fur is always nice, but I never thought that I was going to break even or come out ahead at the end of the season. So, um, but whenever I started trapping, uh, like I said, there weren't any country buyers really that made any sense, and the ones that I could find wouldn't take raccoons. So it wasn't for me. It wasn't. I don't want to catch raccoons because they're not giving me what I think they're worth. You know what I mean? They used to be worth $20 a pelt. Now they're worth three, and everybody's upset about that. I didn't come from that perspective because I've never seen $20 coon pelts. So that wasn't my mentality whenever I started looking at it. I definitely understand that mentality, but that wasn't the way I was coming at it. The way I was coming at it was I knew from trapping water animals the first year that I trapped that I was very likely to catch some raccoons that were going to be dispatched by the time I got there, right? So they're already dead. Nothing, you can't take it back, right? Obviously, if you catch a coon in a dry land set, in a coyote set or whatever, you can turn that coon loose if you want to, and he's going to run off and be gone. But if you catch one in a counter bear, you got a dead coon on your hands, right? And I wanted to at least do my best to do something with everything that I caught. So if I catch something and I kill it, I want to do something with it. I don't just want to, float it down the river or throw it in a brush pile or something like that. So that was where I was coming from. I needed something to do with this fur. I knew I was going to catch raccoons, um, so I knew I was going to need a place to go with those raccoon pelts. I just wanted to green skin everything, and I couldn't find a country buyer, and the ones that I found flat out refused to take raccoons. So that didn't leave me a whole lot of options. So um, I'm selling to NAFA now, so North American Fur Auctions. And I know for some reason I continue to pick controversial topics on these videos. The Duke 550 was controversial. The R Trap was a little controversial. I'm new to this again, so I'm not actively seeking to be controversial, but it just kind of seems to be the way that that's kind of panning out for me. I'm not afraid of controversy because I'm telling you everything, just the way that I understand it. And I could be wrong, and I may change my mind at some point. I reserve the right to do that. But but anyway, I ended up at NAFA because NAFA will take everything. NAFA will take all your furs. If you catch, small coons, if you send them to NAFA, they'll take them. Can they sell them? Well, that's probably a different question. But at the end of the day, if you have fur that you want to market, NAFA will take it. And that was kind of one of the deciding factors because so many of the country buyers that I contacted here in Missouri told me flat out, I'm not taking raccoons this season. And there are still some that are saying that this season. This is 2019. So, and I've taken a little guff from some of the country buyers. I've since moved, so I'm a little bit closer to one, and then there's another one that runs a route now. So it's kind of gotten a little bit better as far as country buyers since I started trapping. But I'm taking a little bit of guff from some of those guys because they think I ought to be selling to a country buyer. They think I would do better on my prices if I had. And maybe they're right. But, well, let me go through the NAFA, my first sale to NAFA, and then I'll show you my results from NAFA. And again, I didn't catch much, so it's not a big, list, but and I'll make another point when we get to that part. So, so this is the sheet that I filled out whenever I met with my NAFA buyer for the very first time. And up here in the corner it just says new. Because I didn't have an account number, I had never sold to NAFA before. The guy was great. I went on to NAFA's website, and they have very detailed lists of all the places that they do pickups. So it's really easy to find the closest pickup to you. The closest pickup to me is about 30 minutes. So way closer than any of the country buyers were. And I rolled up there with my fur, and it was put up, so fully put up fur, so skinned, fleshed, and dried on boards, and I dropped off 3 raccoons, a beaver, and 3 coyotes, 5 raccoons, and a beaver, right? So that was my first drop off, and really nice. Helped me fill out all the paperwork. Told me that since I was new, that they would establish an account number once they received the fur, and in a couple of weeks to give him a call, and he would have my account number so that I could go online and make up an account online. And their online account, you can get it on your phone. It's somewhat mobile friendly. It's not totally mobile friendly, but it's pretty good. You can look at your receipts for the season, so how many things NAFA has received from you. You can watch the auctions kind of coming up, and you can actually go on the website and watch it live as they're auctioning it off, which I did for the first time. It was kind of neat. But keeps all your stats and all everything that you sent to them. It keeps it all nice, and they grade it, and you can go in and see what it graded at and all that good stuff, which is pretty neat. So, and here's my results, I guess, from my first sale. And I'm gonna this is where I'm gonna make my other point about country buyers. And God bless country buyers. Don't get me wrong. I wish that there were a bunch of them. I wish that there were ones that were closer, and I wish that they were, ready to buy all the fur that I could catch. That would be awesome. Because at that point, you can turn that fur around into money much quicker. Because NAFA, you're not going to get your check during the season. It's going to be well after the season. So it's not like you can, count on a mid-season check to, give you some extra gas money to keep running that line. It's just not going to happen. It's a sunk cost. You're going to be out of the money until after the season if you're working through NAFA. But So I sold them 5 raccoons, like I said. 3 of those raccoons graded 3XL Select, and they sold for $17.50 a piece, um, which is crazy, right? My coyotes, which graded grade 2, North Central, and poor quality, and there was nothing wrong with those coyotes. They weren't damaged in any way. They're just not great coyotes. You know what I mean? It's the best trapper in the world. If they're in an area that doesn't have good fur, they're not going to get a top lot award. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, you're a little bit a victim of your area. So if you just happen to have poor coyotes, you're going to get poor grades on your coyotes because they're not good fur. It's got nothing to do with the way you trapped them or the way you put them up or anything like that. It's just luck of the draw. You know, the coons in my area are not supposed to be this good. They're not supposed to be selects. They're not supposed to be 3X. They're not supposed to be graded as high as these were. I just got lucky and caught some coons that happened to be really good coons. And on the same hand, I caught some coyotes that were really bad examples of coyotes, unfortunately for me. So my coyotes sold for $18.50 a piece. My coons sold for $17.50 a piece. And like I said, I took some guff from some of the country buyers who said I would have done better on coyotes, you know, had I sold them to a country buyer, and they're probably right. But I can guarantee you this: to get a country buyer to buy any of my coons last season for $17.50, I would have had to staple a $20 bill to every one of them, and that's no joke. There is, and any country buyer that tells you that they would have given me $17.50 a piece for my coons is a liar. There is absolutely no way. Most of them wouldn't take any coons of any kind for any reason. Unquestionable, no, I'm not taking coons. So there's no way they would have given me $17.50 a piece for those coons. So I did better on the raccoons through NAFA. Some of them. Some of them went unsold, and some of them recently just sold for $4 a piece on a fire sale that they did. But at the end of the day, I was able to get rid of that fur whenever it was convenient for me. I put it up whenever it was convenient for me. I watched their schedule. I knew when their buyer was coming through, and I took it up to him, threw it in the back of a truck. He gave me a receipt, and then I sat around and waited for my check. And for me, that is the most convenient way to do business. You know, like I said, I don't need money mid-season because I understand this is, for me, this is not a money-making, you know, exercise. This is a recreational exercise. I'm not selling to country buyers now, not because I don't like them, not because I think I'm you know, they're cheating me, or I do better through NAFA. I probably don't do as well through NAFA as I would through a country buyer on some items, especially coyotes. But because the country buyers wouldn't take raccoons, they wouldn't take my fur to begin with, I went out and bought a fleshing beam and a fleshing knife and, you know, all this stuff, all these boards and stretchers and things. So I have a big investment in the equipment that it takes to put fur up. Now, all of that being said, I got nothing against country buyers. I hope that they do very well. I hope people go and sell to them, and I hope it's profitable for them, and I hope there's more of them. And at some point, I may change my mind and decide to sell to those guys. But for me, you know, I've now got an investment because I couldn't find somebody to buy them green. I went out and invested in the equipment and the knowledge to put the fur up. And to be honest with you now, that's one of the most enjoyable parts to me is putting the fur up. I really enjoy fleshing and stretching and seeing the product, you know what I mean, on the stretcher dried. That's one of the things that I really enjoy, and taking it from start to finish all the way through the process of catching the fur, putting it up, and sending it off to auction. So that's my experience with NAFA. They've been good to me so far. I can't complain. If you are looking for a way to market your fur and you have a country buyer that's close that will take all of the fur that you plan to catch, I think it's a wonderful option. If you have freezer space to keep it green, whole, or if you have freezer space to keep the green hides that you skin off, and they'll take them that way, it's a wonderful option. If they'll take them whole, you will probably do a little bit better on some things because they can take the skulls, they can take the castor, they can take the glands, stuff that you may not take if you were doing it on your own. You know, you would probably just take the hide itself and not mess with all the other stuff because you don't have the volume. You know, I mean, it takes a lot of coyotes to make an ounce of coyote glands, right? So um, if you're going to do that kind of thing, make sure you talk with your buyer about what they want as far as glands if you're going to skin the animals, because some of them want foot pads, some of them only want the gland itself, you know, so that differs. So talk to them before you go cutting off foot pads and add them in, because they may not want that. But other than that, I mean, if you've got a country buyer and you're happy with that, wonderful. But if you're in a situation where you can't get rid of your fur, you can't market your fur, you don't really have a good option, putting up fur is not difficult. It's very rewarding. It's very fun. You can do it pretty cleanly. You know, I do it in the garage. It's not a big mess. I thought it would be at first, but it's not nearly as big a mess as I thought it would be. You know, I have some tubs where all the fleshings go into, and then I can just take those fleshings the next day as I run the trap line and find a good place to get rid of them. It's not a big deal. Doesn't make a big stinky pile or anything like that, as long as you spread it out a little bit throughout your line. Um, and you know, a NAFA will take it. So, you know, it's a decision you got to make, but there are options. You know what I mean? So if you're nervous about putting up fur, it's not that big a deal. There's tons of videos on YouTube that will show you how to do it. Coon Creek Outdoors is a really good one, and there are DVDs that you can buy as well. Leon Winchell with Top Lot does a great one on coyotes. If you get a chance to go to the LKL trapping school, Leon will walk you through every animal you want to see, and it's awesome. Charlie Mashek does a really good one on fur handling. Jeff Dunlap does a really good one on fur handling. So there are lots of resources for you to learn how to do it. There are lots of good fleshing knives, lots of good beams. Badger Land Trapping Supply's got a really cool beam stand that I've shown before that works really well. So you can definitely do it either way you want to go. If you have somebody close and you want the cash quick, country buyer's your answer. If you want to put the fur up, or if you don't have all the options that you would like in a country buyer, NAFA is a good option. So, you know, take that for what it's worth, and hopefully you can find a way to market your fur.